Hi, I'm Peter Birch. Welcome to this week's show, another show about Antaresia. This time, it's about children's pythons. Welcome to CrittaCam. Just checking on some of my cool little critters. This week's show is about the Antaresia childrenii, better known as the children's python. I mean, it's probably the dullest out of all the Antaresia, but it's a pretty cool animal. Let's go check out some cool critters. So what we have, and I suppose the weirdest thing is, back in the early 80s, up until 1985 in fact, the children's python was the representative for all the other species. They were all grouped together, believe it or not, and that included not only just children's pythons, but the spotted pythons like my mate Spot here, and as you can see, they're very different indeed. But not only these, they also had the Stimson's pythons mixed in there as well, which is a little bit bizarre. Luckily enough, a taxonomist sat down and he had a closer look at these beautiful creatures and started looking at things like scales, and he realised the scales were different on each individual species, and therefore they were reclassified into Maculosa, Stimsoni and Stimsoni orientalis. But today's show, we're talking all about these beautiful animals right here, the children's python. Now this guy here is about 18 years old, he's been here quite a while, and he is definitely the key representative for the whole children's python species. Now the children's pythons, blotches, will typically start to fade out as they get older. That's just part of the bargain with children's pythons. So when you're breeding specific colours and patterns, you've got to keep that in the back of your head. Now luckily enough, not only do they come in this beautiful tan and brown coloration, but in some isolated areas, they started to find some other animals that were void of all colours and patterns. And what they found were these beautiful creatures right here, these patternless individuals. Now that is a spectacular animal right there. So we're talking central Queensland, around the Mount Isa area is where they started to find these patternless individuals. Now the weird thing about that was that they found that there's two modes of inheritance. One is straight recessive, so therefore the babies will actually hatch patternless from patternless to patternless parents, which is pretty cool. But unfortunately there's another type, which is the polygenic. So even though you have a patternless male and a patternless female, you can produce normal looking babies which will fade as they get older. That's a bit of a trap for some people. And sometimes you can almost see the really faint patterns within inside these creatures. And I mean, as a patternless animal, nothing gets better than that. That is pretty damn cool. The other thing that you can do when you're working with children's pythons, just like all animals, with genetic traits, or even starting to look at possibly finding out if it's a genetic trait or not, we can work with the polygenics. So polygenics basically is line breeding. So what you do there is you take the most patternless to patternless animal, or you take the most intense colour to intense colour animal, making sure they're siblings. That increases the opportunity, just like these beautiful yellow children's. I mean, taking the most yellow animal and the most yellow animals and putting them back together, producing more yellow outstanding animals, just like this beautiful girl right here. How could you not fall in love with her? She is an absolute stunning animal. But believe it or not, when you're putting more of these yellows in together, we started to get some really interesting, funky looking things come out, just like this girl down here. Let's see if she'll play ball without trying to chew my face off. But look at that, there's another animal bred from these animals, and as you can see, the yellows become more and more apparent with more times you breed them. And I mean, they're both stunning animals in their own right. How could you not love that? That's spectacular. And there again, that is just straight polygenics, working with the most colourful animal to colourful animal, or most reduced pattern animal to most reduced pattern animal, to produce more just like their original parents. And working with that, you can produce some really stunning animals. I mean, luckily enough, there are a few genetic traits starting to float around now, but another polygenic trait is this guy here, the ghost gene. A lot of people say they've never heard it or even seen the ghost gene. Maybe that's part of the mystery of the ghost gene right there. But these animals came from a specific location, have been bred in captivity, and there again, it's a polygenic trait. So the most reduced pattern, most silvery looking animals putting back to each other, after generation, producing more and more of these beautiful, greeny looking, shimmery, silvery looking animals. And I mean, how could you not say that that's a pretty cool animal right there? And there again, you know, the patterns can be more reduced, or they could be more intense. But with children's, the patterns will fade out to almost faint blotches, just like you can see in this wonderful little critter right here. That's pretty damn awesome. So working with polygenics, you're working with specific animals within a specific group. Now, there are some localities known for their colorations, and here is one right here. This is an Elcho Island children's python. So because of the Elcho Islands, children's pythons are well known for their dark coloration, almost like a melanistic animal, but it's not a true melanistic animal. They actually have a dark shade over the patterning that hides behind it. So it's almost like they've got this shadow over the top, and it's pretty intense. And I mean, a dark coloured animal, some people would think that's a pretty ugly animal, but it's pretty necessary. Without dark, you can't have light. Without light, you can't have dark. That's pretty important when you remember breeding animals. And if you're working with specific genetic traits, the dark animals can become very useful. Here was the first genetic trait that popped up through the children's python. This is a magnificent T-positive albino children's python. It is a spectacular animal. I mean, the T-positive, so the tyranase positive, the tyranase is still there. It's not fully switched on or off, so it's still there, and it comes out in this beautiful purple looking colour. That is a beautiful colour. It's got purples right through to lavenders. That is absolutely smashing. And like I said, it's a straight recessive trait. It means you just take one of these guys, put to a normal looking animal, produce more normal looking animals that are 100% het for these. In other words, they all carry the same trait. When you put those normal animals together, average 1 in 4 will come out just like this guy here. And that way you can work with that line and produce more of these stunning animals. So that was one of the first true genetic traits that was found within the children's python. The second one is probably the most gobsmacking of all. It was this beautiful creature right here. These things are absolutely amazing. This is what they're calling the marble childrenii. And there again, it's a straight recessive trait, just like the T-positive. I mean, look at the creams, the yellows, and the way it fragments those darker colours. These things are absolutely amazing. I can't wait to mix this in with all the other stuff that we've already spoken about within the children's to produce some outstanding animals. It's only a matter of time where we take these animals and produce multiple gene animals and also multiple coloured generations of individuals that are going to be absolutely spectacular. I mean, just like all the other Antaresias I work with, I can't wait to see what these animals are going to produce over everything else we're working with here today. Man, I hope you guys love them as much as I do. Children's pythons are spectacular animals, just like the rest of my beautiful Antaresias. How could you not love the colour variation in these beautiful children's pythons? I mean, I'm absolutely can't wait for the future, what I can produce with these beautiful animals. Please leave a comment below, hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, I'm just going to chill out with these beautiful critters right here. Thanks for watching CrittaCam.